Morning everyone. Today for our Sunday Moravian text reading we are in Psalm 25 verse 1 to 10, a psalm of King David. And David starts his psalm by saying, "To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. To you I lift up my soul." It reminded me of the Anglican communion liturgy and service where the priest says to the congregation, "Lift up your hearts," and everyone responds together in unison. We lift them up to the Lord, or something like that. It's a lovely thought though, isn't it? But what does it mean to lift up our hearts, to lift up our soul to the Lord? What does that look like? And I think it's about coming before the Lord, setting some time aside to come before the Lord, and in that time, pausing from things like singing and pausing from things like reading the Bible and pausing from asking God for stuff, and just being honest before Him. Lord, this is me. This is how I'm really doing. These are my fears. These are my hopes. This is my sin. I confess it before you. Of course, He knows that already. But it's about being honest before the Lord, lifting up our heart before the Lord. And shame will hinder us from doing that. Shame will cause us to hide from God. And David acknowledges this in verse 2. He says, Do not let me be put to shame. For David, this is a confident, faith-filled prayer. Why? Because it is a prayer that sits on a promise of God. Verse 3, that incredible promise of God that says, "No one whose hope is in you will ever be put to shame." So David can say, "Do not let me be put to shame." Because no one, well, that includes me and you, doesn't it, will ever be put to shame. Ever. That covers every single potential situation and scenario. No one who puts their hope in God will ever be put to shame. But what is shame? Well, shame is one of those emotions, those feelings that is quite hard to put our finger on and identify and define. It is a deep, deep emotion. I think it's stronger than guilt, where as a result of something that we have done or something we've experienced or something that's been done to us, we've been left with this feeling worthless at the core, ashamed, embarrassed, exposed. And what this psalm reminds us of is that in God, we can be free from shame. We don't have to experience shame. Indeed, Jesus specializes in setting people free from shame. I mean, just think about the people that He engaged with, the woman at the well who was drawing water in the midday sun with no one else around. She was hiding, such was her shame. Or what about the woman with the issue of blood, the woman with the constant flow of blood, ceremonially unclean according to the laws. She had to be separated from society, and Jesus calls her daughter. Or what about the many lepers and the sinners that society had rejected? People who experienced that sort of shame of being rejected, and Jesus embraced them and made them clean. Jesus wants to free us from shame. But of course, the natural human response to shame is to hide. We see that first with Adam and Eve in the garden. They hid themselves when they realized they were exposed, naked, ashamed. All those sorts of feelings that we associate with shame. And they hid themselves from God. That's what shame does to us. And today I want to remind us that the cross of Christ, the work of Jesus on the cross, it cleanses us from all shame. So when God remembers us, when he sees you, he doesn't see you according to your shame. Your shame doesn't define you in his eyes. And our reading today, it reminds us that God remembers us according to his love and his faithfulness. He sees you according to his great mercy and love. So I want to encourage you today to lift up your soul to the Lord, to be real before God, to be honest with him, to bring that shame to him, to bring it to the cross, to give it to him at the cross, to leave it at the cross, and to walk into today, into this new week, into new life with our heads held high as beloved and accepted daughters or sons of the King. Amen.